thank you for this little surprise. I didn't know about that. You will be the judges of if there's anything resembling myself. I was asked to give a little panel discussion introduction with a presentation concerning behind the code as a topic. When you talk about algorithms and artificial intelligence, I prefer algorithms, just like already as well. These systems are to be found everywhere, having more and more influence in our societies, reflecting, influencing more and more of our decisions, what we'll want to watch on Netflix, YouTube, and all the other platforms in the evening, for instance, or what we will be buying on Amazon. Where the recommendation algorithms have an extremely influential role to play, and even in decisions of a more critical nature. Certain companies are using algorithms in their recruiting process. In the Netherlands, we had a scandal with algorithms used to allocate subsidies. In the US, they're used in the judicial system. In Gaza nowadays to target certain bombings. So you can see there's a lot of different usage areas, some of them problematic, others legitimate. And I think we should have a more nuanced vision to see in what cases it is justified actually and in which other cases it's not. But every time we delegate these tasks to artificial intelligence, we delegate power as well. And we have to make sure that this power is being used in a responsible way and transparently as well. So unfortunately, it's like for democratic processes, one of the fundamental principles of democracy is to have transparency vis-à-vis the democratic institutions. And this principle should be maintained for artificial intelligence when you allocate the management of certain flows of information or allocation. Unfortunately, these AIs are not as transparent as they should be for different reasons. Some reasons are of a structural kind. Majority of AIs we're using today are actually based on the continuity of deep learning, which is fundamentally not interpretable. So even an engineer is working on the implementation of these models will not be able to explain why an algorithm has taken a certain decision in a particular case, a specific case. So this is a problem of interpretability we can see today, but other reasons as well. Pseudo reasons for some, defended by companies under the cover of trade secrets or business secrets. They cannot tell you what these algorithms are based on, but quite often it's also simply based on the necessity to have a restriction of public scrutiny in these cases. And this is the case for recommendation AIs in the social networks. Even today, these algorithms are the most present and being used the most in the daily life of people, with an influence sometimes stronger than of editorial officers of the major papers. Today on YouTube, more than 70% of content recommended by AI. And it's up more than 80 or 90% on TikTok. And we don't know how these AIs are functioning fundamentally, just the broad principles. And we are actually delegating this consumption of information on Facebook or Twitter. Initially, you had several posts coming up, and you had to choose where you wanted to direct your attention to. We had more TikTok-like applications. One choice, you have a look, or you swipe to the next vision. So a more paternalistic mode of action in the platform. And today, it was actually the same for Google. Results are bigger and bigger and less numerous, and we are dedicating more and more to the algorithm. And in this transition towards AI, chatbots, and generative AIs, when we had a question, we were looking for information at the time to answer on the internet. We went to Google and we were selecting the websites we wanted to access. If you do it via a chatbot, what's happening behind where you have GPT or Gemini, they will do research on the internet and they will open certain sites, select extracts that seem relevant, and then combine them, integrate them to formulate an answer, integrating all the while the knowledge that has been taken up during former training. And all these different steps that we've been introducing can themselves introduce errors, introduce bias, and introduce also potential defamation of information one way or the other. And of course, can be very useful as well, of course. But I think it's important to be aware of this aspect as well. With my NGO, we had a study during elections in Switzerland and Germany. We were asking questions like chatbot, and we had 30% errors, fact-based errors for simple questions like which candidates are presenting themselves, what is the date of the elections, and even worse, sometimes chatbots were referencing articles of credible papers, quoting and introducing an error in quoting an article that was containing correct information. So this is a reputational risk for these papers in the usage of in that kind of procedure. And I think the problem is that more these algorithms are opaque and vague, the more and more difficult it will be to detect these errors and bias elements. And in the case of social networks, the original sin, I would like to say, of almost all problems, especially the ones already has been mentioned beforehand, is the fact that these algorithms are optimized to maximize attention of users. And this is generating a lot of problems. The most polarizing contents will be put up front, simply as a reflection of cognitive human bias. Whether I'm of the same opinion or not, I'm going to have a look and give it a comment, and you go there then, and this is taken up by the algorithm. It's fake use, it's the same. Generally, information being a little bit innovative, new information you want to share more spontaneously because it's new, and we can see that these are exacerbated with generative AIs that are able to generate contents that are fake or having a lower cost and making it possible that we have automated or automated accounts spreading information in a very specific, personalized way. And that's where we have a difference. Today, this information is more and more targeted, personalized, and adapted to your psychological profile in particular, and used false accounts that will know who are the target persons, ideally. In order to confront problems of this kind, transparency is of essential nature here, allowing to analyze where we are, analyze progress that has been made in this area. The European Union has been one of the innovators here on a worldwide basis, regulating new technologies, significant progressive thanks to the Digital Service Act and Digital Market Act, DSA and DMA, being implemented for about a year now. But the challenge remains the integration of all these texts, imposing more transparency and openness to these platforms, but you still have to know what the real impact is made here and in how far the platforms are mitigating the risks that have been mentioned. And for that we need counterpower here. And that's the mission of the organization that I co-founded, because even more so because today this power is more and more concentrated in the hands of just a few companies. We had this tendency towards concentration already beforehand, linked to social networks, network effects, more difficult to have a competition entered when all your friends are on Facebook already, and generative AI will even increase this aspect. You have just a handful of companies having computer resources, data volumes, and know-how to create the most powerful AI models. And I think that we've missed the loop here in the social networks to have a sufficiently upfronted regulation, to have a possibility to avoid the maze problems. It's still time to correct the perspective here, and I gave a few indications concerning that during the panel discussion, and also try to maybe do things more anticipatively concerning generative artificial intelligence. I could go on talking if you let me, but I think this is more or less the time foreseen for